What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm back in Sydney, which means you lucky devils get daily videos once again. I no longer have excuses. I am not on the road, I'm not traveling, I'm not in hotels, and I'm not violently shooting excrement out of different holes in my body. Wait, what? Imagine that, different holes. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. And yes, Elmo is here. Elmo is in shock over the fact that I have returned. I don't know why. I've been giving Elmo plenty of warning that I would be coming back, but wait. Maybe I was not meant to return. Nah, that's not it. So we're going to be reviewing this video together, which is I'm learning Persian in 6 months. Here's my plan, 0 to B2. This is... Okay, so for anyone who wants to know, B2 is the equivalent of, you know, a low level of fluency. You're able to talk about pretty much most everyday situations. You just can't go too deep into them type of thing. So you can have a conversation with a person on the street. You can order food. You can buy things. You can discuss the weather, you know, stuff like that. You can touch on politics, you know, like just the very top level of stuff type of things. So you can have some pretty good conversations with B2. So getting to that in 6 months for, let's say, Persian, I'm assuming she does not speak a language that's like, you know, closely related to Persian, would be a hell of a task. There's going to be a lot of studying that's going to be involved, a lot of immersion, and just a lot of like practice, okay? But let's see what her plan is and how she's approaching this, because I don't know if this is going to be a claim to this is how it's done in 6 months, I've done it before, blah, 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 or if it's like, I'm shooting for the stars, and if I hit an Elon Musk rocket along the way, well then, you know, so be it type of thing.
I want to see if I can learn Persian in 6 months. I recently posted a video about my journey with French and how I learned it in 6 months, and...
Okay, so she learned French in 6 months. Well... She obviously speaks English. If you put in a lot of effort, that would be possible. You could kind of pull it off in 6 months, I think, to a B2 level. Like, it would be probably a pretty bad B2, but you would have to put in a lot of work, let's just say.
And let me just say, first of all, that video did so much better than I expected. But second of all, and most importantly, it reminded me just how fun that was, how amazing it was to see progress that quickly, and it inspired me to do it again, but this time with Farsi. This video is going to be an introduction to the challenge. I'm going to talk about the materials that I'm going to use, how often I'm going to study, how I'm going to study, how often I'm going to give updates, stuff like that. So if you're interested, keep on watching. First of all, let's talk about why Farsi. And I have 2 very simple reasons for choosing it. One is that I've always been fascinated by it ever since I was a teenager, so I thought, why not now? And the second reason is because it's unlike any other language that I know. I didn't want...
You know, the funny thing is I have absolutely no interest in learning Farsi or Persian or anything like that. Like, there's nothing particularly about it that would capture my interest in any way whatsoever.
I wanted to make the challenge too easy. I didn't want to choose a language like Italian or Portuguese.
Didn't want to make the challenge easy? Jesus, girl. Like, this is not an easy challenge. Okay, like, depending on how seriously you take your own challenge type of thing. Like, when I set challenges for myself, once I set a challenge, and especially if I publicly, like, declare that challenge, I go hard. I make sure, like, I actually do the challenge. Now, I know there's lots of people that will set a challenge, you know, and then they'll just, you know, after a week or whatever, it's like, boof, it's gone, you know. Yeah, it wasn't worth it. It was too much effort type of thing. But, like, this is not an easy challenge. Even with a language that's closely related to one's own, where you get a lot of cognates and, you know, there's a lot of similar grammatical structures and stuff like that. Maybe even pronunciation is quite similar. This is a difficult challenge. So the fact she's saying I don't want to make it too easy means that either she's a genius or she's severely underestimated how much effort is actually required to get to a B2.
That would be kind of easy for me because I already speak French and I'm learning Spanish. I wanted to choose something that is completely different and see if I can do it. If you watched my previous study vlog, you might have seen that I studied a little bit of Persian in that video. So I just want to make things very, very clear. I am still an absolute beginner. I know the alphabet and I know like 10 to 15 words max. So I'm
okay, so yeah, beginner, but obviously you do get kind of a little boost here, but realistically for the amount of time required to get to B2, you're not going to get too much of a boost out of this. This would be like a day's worth of studying, I'm guess. And also she mentioned that she's doing other languages, which means like for me to get to a B2 in this time frame, you're looking at a lot of hours per day. And if you're doing other languages, you still need to at least maintain those other languages. So she must have a lot of spare time. You know, we can math this out for how difficult this is. Before I let her continue and give us the details on what she's planning to do and how she's going to do it, let's just look at the math of this. So here I've just looked up how many words is B2, okay? Now, obviously this is highly dependent on language because, you know, some languages are glutive and you get a lot more, you know, I guess bang for your buck out of learning a specific word. And then words can be classified in different ways. You know, some words, are they really different words or are they just different endings, you know, different suffixes and stuff? But like, let's just say that it is roughly 4,000 words as per this, you know, random article right here, which is coming from some university. So 4,000 words. Now, what is 6 months? 6 months is half a year, so we can easily math this. So we're going to go 365 divided by 2, and I should be able to do this in my head. 365 divided by 365. Freaking fail. Okay, 365 divided by 2. Okay, so you've got 182 days, 4,000 words. So if we just go 4,000, you know, divided by 182.5 from memory, so you're going to be learning 21 new words per day. Now, that is doable. I've done over 20 words a day type of thing, but that's a lot of work. Like, it looks like it's just 21 words. Well, just slap 21 words in Anki and boom, you go, you know, you're fine type of thing. But you want to actually learn these words in context so you learn the proper meaning, because you don't want to just be applying one word to, you know, another word in the language because, well, for one, the semantic ground of these different words, therefore the actual meaning of these different words will not always just be one-to-one. Now, certain words will be like, you know, freaking the word for cat type of thing will be quite easy. But then you'll get words like, you know, can in English, which, you know, could mean so many different things. I can do this, or that is a can on the table type of thing. And then that could be split into like, you know, 5 different verbs in another language type of thing. And then like a bunch of different nouns. And like maybe in some languages there isn't even an adjacent word. Like, for example, is and am in some languages just doesn't exist in other languages because like they don't, you know, use those words. So already you're looking at 21 words. Let's just say that straight up. You're going to need at least an hour to learn these words, and then you're probably going to need some more time to build sentences out of and practice these types of words as well, type of thing. And this is assuming you've got, you know, a pretty good frequency list and you want to work off of a frequency list type of thing, because if you just start following some course material, they're probably not going to give you the most common words of those, you know, 4,000 type of thing. So yeah, this is a big task. Now, I've just spoken right now about words. I haven't spoken about grammar. I haven't spoken about, you know, production of speech, because she spoke about, you know, actually being able to use this and understand with other people. And I have not spoken about listening comprehension, which is another big thing where you have to do a lot of listening in order to hear these words, especially along varying accents and type of things. So this is hours of study a day. I would not say anything less than 4 hours of study a day, and you still no guarantee you're going to get to B2. You're probably going to want to do several hours of hard study per day, and then many, many hours of just listening. Like just lots of comprehensible input, basically.
Basically starting from zero. My goal at the end of the 6 months is a solid B2. I want to be able to have normal.
Okay, so this is a solid B2. This is not even I scraped by the end of my teeth, you know, I just passed by 1 point type of B2. This is a solid, you are a B2, my man. You're good. You're sweet.
Normal conversations with native speakers. I want to be able to understand them easily. I want to understand movies, TV shows, podcasts, stuff like that. I am not aiming for academic.
Movies, podcasts, TV shows. Like I can see podcasts and stuff. Movies you generally need higher than B2 if you want to get more than just the general gist of what's going on. Like you generally need to approach a C1 level to understand movies, unless like it's your, you know, your maybe your office or your university rom-com type of thing, which maybe she enjoys, but for me it would be absolute hell. I'm into science fiction, zombie movies, you know, action movies, these types. I need lots of specialized vocab for those.
Fluency. I don't want to write essays. I don't want to talk about art or science or read academic literature. That's more C1, C2 territory.
She's correct about that.
I thought about taking an official proficiency exam just to have that confirmation at the end of the challenge that I did reach B2, but I don't know how possible that's going to be for me. I currently live in Poland.
Okay, so she's taking this challenge pretty seriously if she's actually considering to take an exam at the end of it.
And I looked online, I did a lot of research and I couldn't find anywhere where I could pass the test. So I'm not saying no, I'm saying maybe, we'll see. Now let's talk about how I'm actually going to learn. My approach is very simple and I think it's going to be very effective as well. I want to immerse myself in Persian as much as possible from day one. I want to surround myself with the language, and that means watching YouTube videos, watching movies, TV series, listening to podcasts, maybe listening to music, just really surrounding myself with Persian. I'm also going to focus on practical vocab because, as I said, I'm not really interested in talking about art and science and things that don't really interest me. I want to be able to talk about things.
Although you're not interested in art and science and stuff, you're still going to need the most basic words around those topics to be able to discuss them with, you know, normal people type of thing. Like, okay, so this is the hard part because if you just get into a B2, you don't need any depth here. You don't need to be
relevant to my life, whether it's travel or my other interests and hobbies. I just want to focus on that. And I'm probably not going to study every day. It's just not realistic for me. It's not.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to be pretty honest. If you're not studying every day, you're going to have to make up for that on other days. And if you're doing 4 hours on one day, that means, and you skip a day, you're going to be doing 8 hours on the next day. And then also there's a diminishing returns here. The brain can only take so much torture in a day. So it's like, okay.
Not something I like to do, but I am going to count how many hours I study. So by the end of each month, I will have the total of hours studied and I will be able to calculate my weekly and my daily average. And for now, my main resource is going to be my Asimil book. I think it's perfect because it goes from A1 to B2. But if you know any good resources for learning Persian, YouTube channels, podcasts, feel free to drop it in the comments. I would really appreciate it. My plan is to film a monthly update at the end of each month, as well as a few study vlogs in between. So my study vlogs are going to be more casual. You will see real-time clips of me studying, whereas my monthly updates are going to focus more on my challenges, my wins, what worked, what didn't, and I'm also probably going to give a speaking update in each video. And hopefully by the end of those 6 months, I will be able to film a whole video in Farsi, giving you my final update, telling you what worked, what didn't, what I would do differently, stuff like that. Now, lastly, I want to give a few disclaimers.
I get the feeling that she might be like a strong A2, maybe a B1 type of thing after 6 months, realistically, based on what I just heard then.
Not claiming that this is the only way to learn Farsi. I'm not claiming that I have the perfect study plan. I'm just going to document my journey and my progress and what works for me and what doesn't. And also, if you don't want to learn a language that quickly, you absolutely do not have to. This is just me taking on a fun challenge, wanting to see if I can do it. Hopefully, I'll inspire some of you and show you that you don't need years of studying to make.
Okay, so you might be wondering, why did I even decide to review this video? Well, one, it was recommended in the Discord and a bunch of people were commenting on it, which means that there is actually interest around the video and a discussion. Now, the second thing is there's really not much in this video. This video is just basically her saying, hey, I'm setting myself a challenge. I'm going to learn Persian in 6 months. And then that's pretty much it. Now, what I do want to stress out of this is you go ahead, set yourselves challenges. That's perfectly fine. Even put them online, you know, about like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, like, if you put a challenge and you put it online, it does help you keep yourself committed to that challenge, because now there's a bunch of people whose eyes are basically upon you, which is what I do. Is I often, you know, do my challenges and I put them online, and that's my way of, you know, establishing that commitment type of thing. The only thing I would say is she's really underestimating how much effort it's going to take to get to a B2 for a language that's not adjacent to any of her other languages. And based on the fact she listed out, you know, Portuguese, Spanish, English, French, these languages, it means like this is the first true language outside of like the familiar European group of languages that most people learn type of thing. And this is when you get kicked in the balls, or in her case, kicked in the vag type of thing. That sounds so bad, but you guys know what I mean here. It's like, there is a big difference of getting to B2 and say like, you know, Esperanto type of thing, and then B2 in Mandarin Chinese. And then I know Esperanto is like an extreme case here, but like, it's equivalent to saying also, you know, like a B2 in French compared to B2 in Japanese. Like there's an insane difference for the amount of effort that's required, because at this point, there's not much you can hook into. And I'm actually now curious. Let's check this out ourselves. How similar Persian is in its structure and in the vocab, you know, the vorotostoko, as we would say in Esperanto. What is that? That is the, like, just like the words themselves, like how much of that is etymologically similar. Like, I'm just scrolling through this list at the moment of words, okay? And there's some words in here, like, for example, magic which also exists in Persian, just, obviously in its own form type of thing. And some other words, but like a lot of these words are more specialized. So, except for like fruits and some things like that, I've noticed, like, orange and things. But realistically, this is going to be a lot harder. And as you can see from this right here, and as you can see from this one right here, it says to get to Persian, B2, you're going to need, what's this about? From A1. Okay, so this is literally from there. So this is 700 hours. So if we go 700 divided by 182.5, so you're going to need to do about 4 hours of study a day. That's actually pretty close to what I was saying, which makes sense. So this ain't going to be casual. This is going to be hardcore. Okay, well, that's pretty much it for this video. And before I do close it up, I do want to ask if anyone has learnt Persian to a B2 level, please let me know in the comment section below. And try let us know how many hours it took you to get there. Now, I know hours is very specific as opposed to like days and stuff, because when people, use like years or days as actual estimates, they often forget the fact that there's periods where they just don't study or they didn't intend to study and stuff like that. And I'm more curious about the hours overall, because hours is a better judgment. And just, also let me know the languages that you actually understood before you went and learnt Persian, because obviously that will help a lot, or, possibly not help at all, depending on the languages that you know. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you all in the next video. If there's a video you want me to review, let me know in the Discord or in the comment section below. And who knows, maybe it will end up on this channel. You thought you were going to get away this time without being threatened. You thought Evildea was in the house, eh? Yeah, that ain't happening, my man. Yeah, hope you don't enjoy breathing.